catching a glimpse of the social actors, the actors acting in a society, catching their glimpse, then knowing about their society, knowing about their family lineage, knowing about their popularity or unpopularity, knowing about the rules and regulations that have been written in the Sanskrit texts, in the Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastras, whatever written, taking the glimpse of all these things according to the society of that time, according to the religious texts, according to the written records, and according to the textual authenticity about certain social actors, according to their actions, the society was going on at that time, and there was rise of a new political, a new economic, and a very new social foundation of the country. Hello students, yes, I am talking about Mahabharata, a colossal epic that is not only famous in India but famous abroad and have been translated into different languages today. Mahabharata, the story of the lineage, the story of the two groups fighting together for the feud on the land. Correct? In the previous chapter, we have discussed about so many changes in the political aspect, in the economic aspect. We have also discussed in the previous chapter that there were certain limitations on the archaeological findings and on the records written by the foreign travelers like Megasthenes. We cannot totally depend on the facts given by all these archaeologists, travelers, etc. Because even the travelers, they were human beings, and whenever they traveled, whenever they visited the empire of the king, much depended that what type of treatment they got from the king. In this chapter, we are totally stressing upon the story of Mahabharata, not totally the particular story, but also indirectly story and directly what was the political, economic and social life of the people, because the chapter is the kinship, the caste and the class. Kinship, Kuru, Mahajanpada, that was existing in the previous empires also, and there was rise of extension of agriculture. People were leaving their lands, they were migrating towards forests, because I told you the kings, when they came to know that people were criticizing them, they left their areas and they entered in the forest areas, and forest areas were converted into agricultural lands. There was rise of many social groups, like in the previous chapter we have discussed about the guild system, about the shrenis. There were different type of shrenis, there were different type of social groups. We have talked about the social categories, and all this was going on when an epic, a colossal epic called Mahabharata was written with about 1 lakh verses. 1 lakh verses, and composed over 1000 years and before it was composed, and its verses, they tell us about the story of the fight, the battle between the two, the Korvas and the Pandavas. And the story goes like this. The question arises in the minds of the people, because Mahabharata is not only a religious epic of the Brahmanas or the Hindus, but it is world famous today. And this is not only the story of the two groups that fought among themselves for property or for throne or for any other thing else, but we also discuss about the different social sections, about the different types of social traditions, about the different types of rituals, about the types of the families, about how the theory of kinship, the kin means the blood relationship, and how the families they were categorized according to the castes, and how this system of caste originated, we are going to study in this chapter. Now, in one of the inscription, in one of the saying about why the two groups, the Korvas and the Pandavas, why they fought and why they dragged the society into such a big battle. The story goes like this, that the Korvas, they were the sons of Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra was blind, and because he was blind, it was patrilineal, I told you it was patriarchal society, and the eldest son used to become the heir, he used to ascend the throne, but because Dhritarashtra was blind, so Pandu, who was the younger brother of Dhritarashtra, he ascended the throne. Okay, so instead of Dhritarashtra, Pandu, he ascended the throne, and unfortunately he died at a very early age. At a very early age he died. And then Dhritarashtra was to be put on throne, because this was the only option, because these princes, the Korvas and the Pandavas, they were very young at that time, very young in age, so they could not be put to throne at that time. So there was Dhritarashtra. Now, like I told you in the previous chapter, that kings used to go to the different areas, changing their gesture, and they used to hear from the people what people think about the king. So when they went among the people and when they heard their voices, it was that people of Hastinapur, they had sympathy with the Pandavas, and they called Pandavas as very virtuous, very brave, and they loved them. This was not liked by the Kauravas, and particularly Duryodhana, or you can call it Duryodhan. In English we put A after every name, so Duryodhana, it is Duryodhan, the eldest son among the Kauravas. He didn't like it. He didn't like the perceptions of the people that Pandavas are liked by the people of Hastinapur because they are virtuous, because they are brave. So Duryodhan, he was jealous of it, he didn't like it, and he thought that if it goes on, if the Pandavas, if they are familiar, if they are famous, if they are popular among the people, then it may happen that in future we will never be able to ascend the throne of Hastinapur. Never in future we will be able to ascend the throne of Hastinapur, and it will, their lineage, the lineage of the Pandavas, it will go on, and that will be a blot on us. Although, you know, they were cousins. Remember, kinship, we are studying about the kinship, about the blood relationship. In certain Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastras, it has been written that what is a family? A family is where all the people, they have blood relation, they live together, they share their joys and sorrows, and lifelong they live together, and this is family. But in some of the scriptures, it has been mentioned that not only the blood relation, but even the cousins, they are the part of the family, as we consider it today. So Duryodhan was not happy, and he had this doubt, a suspicion in his mind that in future also we will not be able to ascend the throne of Hastinapur. So the proceedings began, and this jealous led the country into such a big war. Correct. So this story, it is given to us through an inscription, although we cannot depend on it thoroughly, but even then it has been written, so we have to mention it. You can see in your chapter, it is given in your source. Then actually the study of Mahabharata and the critical examination of the story, critical examination. Critical means we accept certain things of Mahabharata, but we reject certain portions of Mahabharata. And you know that that is why only certain portion of Mahabharata are famous among the Hindus also, not all the verses, because it was critical to certain ideas. Correct? The actual study on Mahabharata started in 1919 when Britishers were there in India. And the person behind it was V.S. Suktankar. V.S. Suktankar. He was among the team of the scholars, particularly a team of the scholars was organized to give a critical commentary, to give a critical description about Mahabharata. Correct? So this team of scholars, they just revealed the facts of Mahabharata. It was full of variations. It was full of conflicting ideas and debate, the ideas which were full of debates and discussions. So there were lots of variations. So they also looked into the Sanskrit texts which were written at that time. And how can we forget the Dharma Shastras and Dharma Sutras which were written in the form of scriptures and Rig Veda. In the Rig Veda also, to know about the family, about the kinfolk, and about the types of the societies at that time. So, to classify the families and to classify the societies, this team worked, gave critical commentaries on Mahabharata, and it came out that it was patriarchal society, patrilineal, that is patrilineal lineage. According to the father, the sons used to inherit the property or inherit the throne. About the daughters, we ourselves say that it was particular for the parents to do kanyadan about the daughters. And for the sons, it was a lineage, it was hereditary system. So this team of scholars, these scholars, they tell us that the family, the kinfolk and the patrilineal, it was very, very important for the people. As far as the occupation is concerned, occupation was also decided according to the caste of the people, the kinfolk, the castes, the groups of the people with the same lineage. It was Brahmanas who considered to be at the first place, and they will preach the people, they will preach the scriptures, they will preach the religion, or accordingly whoever wants to learn anything, Brahmanas, they have the responsibility to teach and preach the people. Teaching is teaching, what we are doing. Preaching is religious teaching. Correct? Don't confuse in it. This Brahmanas, and the second category was decided as Kshatriyas, although there are instances of the kings who were non-Kshatriyas also, but there is mention of Kshatriyas that they were brave and they used to get the knowledge of archery, they used to get the knowledge of how to do warfare, battles, and they were also the kings, the Kshatriyas. But remember it, they were also non-Kshatriya kings in this time. So Kshatriyas, and the third category was decided as the Vaishyas. Vaishyas were the traders, they were the merchants, they were to carry goods from one place to another, and they used to keep the record of the income and expenditure. So third category. So Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. However, the fourth category, Shudras, they were not untouchables in the beginning, like later on they came to be known as the untouchables. Shudras were the fourth category of the society who will serve the upper three categories. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, they will be served by the Shudras. Mostly they were agriculturists, mostly they were craftspeople, mostly they were water carriers, etc. So these four categories. In the Rig Veda, we get mention of these occupational division according to occupation. That in one family, father could be Vaishya, mother could be Brahmin, one son could be Kshatriya, other son could be Shudra. So occupation based. Whatever occupation a person will adopt, the same caste he or she will belong. But later, this was decided according to birth, by birth. And then gradually, a rigidity came in it, rigidity. Previously, it was flexible. In one family, people could choose their occupation and they could belong to the different caste. But later on, this was turned into rigidity, and once a person is born in one particular caste, he or she will belong to that particular caste only, and that occupation he or she will have to adopt. So that was a stricter form of casteism. Correct? Tomorrow we will discuss about the different types of marriages that were prevalent at this time, about the different types of social systems that were present during this period, and also about the administration, about the political, about the warfare policies, etc. So go through all these topics today, prepare your notes, and thank you very much.